Hey, what's up guys, Rockskull here, and in this video I'm going to be going over a balance change I would personally make to every hero. Note that these are mainly going to be quality of life changes, or just goofy ideas I'd like to see tested. I'm not going to be considering the current meta much at all for this video, as changes I suggest for that would make this video irrelevant very quickly. Also know this video is being made after the September 3rd, 2024 hotfix patch, and will not be including changes they make after as I unfortunately don't have foresight. With that out the way, let's begin by listing off all the heroes in order in the hero select screen, starting with the tanks. D.Va starts us out here, and I'm just going to give her the goofy quality of life change of being able to go backwards with her boosters. This was actually something the devs did in the April Fool's patch, and I actually kind of like the idea of it. It gives her a pretty unique movement option I think could actually get some use. Next up we have Doomfist. I just want the simple change of bringing back his beta techs. I still remember having a great time with these when I played on the beta, and I'm sad they removed them out of nowhere with seemingly no reason. Younger Queen I think is in an overall solid spot, and a lot of the changes they've been doing recently to her have felt really good. The only thing I can think of is increasing the knife damage you get by recalling it back, as it is such a unique mechanic that feels pretty useless right now with the current damage. I've never been a fan of the just shoot tank lol playstyle of Maga. Something that I think promotes this is how bad he is at killing squishies. He probably needs multiple changes to actually fix this, but for the sake of consistency of this video, I'll just make the single change of him doing more damage when he shoots one gun at a time. Any changes that incentivize Maga to shoot squishies more I think is a great one. Orisa also currently has quite a few issues to me, but I think if I were to do anything right now, it would be to remove that goofy slow she gets in Fortify. This just promotes the sit and survive playstyle more, which is a playstyle I've never been a fan of. As a Ramatra main, one of the things that always bother me is how useless his vortex is on bringing down flyers, when as you can see from the trailer was the intended design of the ability. We can of course just increase the range it has vertically, but an idea I've always liked personally is the ability to activate it mid-air. This would add a cool new skill to the ability it currently doesn't have at all. Something I would love to return to Reinhardt is the ability to one-shot squishies again with Shatter. It was always so fun just bonking and insta-killing people with it before, and honestly if a squishy gets shattered in that range anyway, they're dead, so I think it should just one-shot again. Now for this Roadhog change, I must admit it's a bit silly, but just hear me out real quick. So I've never really been a fan of the design of his recently added Pigpen ability, as all it is really used for is to make his hook combo be more lethal. I thought about what we could possibly do to change it, and I came up with the idea of making it a throwable jump pad now instead. The jump he gets from it doesn't have to be too crazy, but just the idea of the big pig boy jumping around in a team fight trying to hook people is hilarious to me. We could have it work for teammates as well, but that might be a bit too far. A fun idea I thought of for Sigma is giving his spears more velocity if they bounce off a wall. Currently this part of his kit is a bit niche, but I think giving them more speed as soon as they hit a wall to go further would be a fun change. Sigmas would be going for trick shots maybe to hit those that are further away. Give Winton the ability to Winton in Winton form. Wrecking Ball is in a pretty interesting place, with a lot of cool changes he got recently, with the grapple repel and the ability to give shields to teammates. The buff I want is to not have the grapple cooldown when coming out of spawn. I kinda get why they did it at the time, but I just don't think it's fair that a hero like Doomfist can get back to a fight within seconds, while Ball has to wait 5 seconds every time he gets out of spawn to do anything. I think something possibly fun for Zarya is just getting more self knockback the higher charge you are. They already buffed the knockback in general a bit ago. I just like to see it buff further to where it actually becomes an active mobility tool when she's at high charge. Now onto the DPS role, we have Ashe. I think she should have more control when she places Bob. Currently you just send him in a straight line from wherever you're standing, and he stops when he hits a wall. However, something fun would be to have the ability to stop him in that straight line wherever you want by just pressing the ult button again. This would prevent scenarios where you accidentally send the poor boy off the edge, or into a corner where he can't do anything. For Bastion, I have always had the opinion that he should get his old ultimate back. That ult was so fun to use, and I think it would fit perfectly for Overwatch 2. I'm still a bit uncertain to this day why they even changed it. Cassidy's kit has always been fine to me besides that dang sticky grenade, flashbang, whatever it is now. The devs seem to not know what to do with it either, with it having a ton of iterations already. All of them have been not that amazing to me, so I'm coming to the conclusion that maybe we should just forgo the ability entirely, and replace it with something cooler. Never really even thought a sticky grenade slash flashbang was fitting for a cowboy character anyway. Some kind of futuristic lasso ability or something similar would be a lot more cool I think. Duplicate on Echo can be a really strong ultimate, but I often find it super difficult to get the ult as the duped hero in it. They buffed its speed recently, but I'm starting to think maybe a better route is to make it more focused on the abilities you gain from duplicating somebody, rather than just the ultimate. You can make her have shorter cooldowns, or just make her do a bit more damage in general to see how it goes. I admit this all could be too much though. Alright, so Genji is super OP, so obviously we should nerf Genji. Alright, just playing. For real though, something that I always found kinda weird with Genji is that his melee doesn't have any special effects. It's literally a blade he pulls out with force, and it does the same amount of damage as a grandma punch. I'm thinking it either gets slightly increased range compared to normal melees, or just does a bit more damage than normal. Poor Hanzo has seemed to lose his identity completely with those Season 9 changes, and his depressed personality has never been more fitting. If we really don't want to give him his one-shot back, which I understand, I think he needs more utility with his arrows. Giving him the option to use like poison or fire arrows depending on the scenario Junkrat could be a fun idea to mess around with, I think. The change I'd personally like to see to Junkrat is to have his mines give you more horizontal movement. The way the mine mechanics work now are kinda weird, where it pretty much always wants to boop you vertically. This often leads to Junkrat being super predictable if he launches himself up with his mine. So more horizontal movement could be nice, I think. When you wall at someone's feet with Mei, it currently just brings them up with it with no additional effects. A fun idea I had is that now Mei wall will actually boop you up a bit if it gets built at your feet. This could be used to boop up enemies for your teammates to shoot, or for you and teammates to get to some cheeky spots, which I think could be fun. For Pharah, a change I'd like to see tested is being able to use jump jet and jump dash while in her ultimate. The ult currently is pretty much a suicide button, so being able to at least use movement cooldowns during it could be fun. They can nerf the ultimate damage of course to compensate, but I think deciding whether or not to use your cooldowns for the ultimate itself, or so you can set it up, is a fun dynamic. Reaper's Wraith form actually used to have the ability to completely escape things like Grav and Sigma's ult. I personally think this feature should possibly return to Reaper. I like the idea of Wraith form being able to literally escape anything, and it just feels odd being stuck in Grav while using it now. Something that always stood out to me as a bit odd in Sojourn's kit is her disruptor shot. Even with the removal of the slow a while back, it feels like an ability a tank should have rather than a DPS. So I'm thinking it either gets full on replaced with something cooler, or make it so the ability helps Sojourn in some way specifically. Like it charge up her railgun while people are in it instead of just damaging them. The next change I admit might be a bit too much, but I sort of think Soldier should be able to cleanse all negative effects when he places his biotic field. Probably just something that does it on placement instead of lasting the whole duration, but I think it may be fair since this thing is on such a long cooldown. Small quality of life buff I thought for Sombra is automatically reloading her weapon as soon as she teleports and or uses EMP. Not much else to say here, just something I think a lot of heroes should have access to. I have a similar idea with Symmetra that her teleporter now reloads her own and teammates' weapons that go through it. I thought possibly ability cooldowns too, but that might be pretty busted if that was the case. Also yeah, sorry again Hanzo, you don't benefit from this one. For Tor, we gotta buff his hammer damage obviously. Should just be his main weapon, let's be real. I think Tracer is a pretty well designed hero overall, so the only thing I can think of as a nice buff is maybe always recharging a blink after a recall. This could end up being a bit too much, as any buffs to Tracer seem to almost instantly make her meta. But hey, I can see this at least feeling nice. For Venture, it can feel a bit annoying when you use your ultimate, then you're forced to burrow to save yourself, and waste quite a bit of your ultimate doing so. To fix this, I think burrow should maybe pause or slow down the ultimate timer to make the ultimate not just feel so wasted. Ever since Hanzo's Sonic era buffs a while back on his rework, Widow's ultimate has felt pretty insignificant in value. One way we can maybe buff it is giving the ultimate the added effect of buffing charge speed on Widow's weapon. This would make it feel more like an actual ultimate, and pretty scary during its duration, I think. Now starting with Ana in the supports, when your teammates don't do the work, you gotta do it yourself. Ana should have the option to nano herself like in free-for-all. It would be epic. For the Rizzler Baptiste, I think it could be cool if he was able to just place his ultimate mid-air if he wanted to. Not exactly sure how the controls of that would work, but it seems like a fun idea to me that could have some niche use. Brig used to have this old goofy tech where you could launch yourself across the map if you used whip shot with shield bash. It was so fun, I think it honestly should be considered to return, as you did have to use 2 whole cooldowns just to do it. I know it makes zero sense physics-wise, but I just can't help myself seeing the dive Brigs. For Iliari, I think her pylon should have a limited duration, but it does more burst healing. Currently, Iliari gameplay with it is a lot of just leaving it in one place behind a wall and forgetting about it. I really think that duration should be limited so more thought goes into its placement. Juno's ultimate can be pretty strong, but something that bugs me about it is its overall lack of control. You just send it in one direction and that's it. So I'm thinking she should gain more control of the ultimate somehow. The idea I thought of is pressing Q again during the ultimate switches the direction of it to where you're facing. A little bit of control like this could go a long way, I think. For Kiriko, I got a simple buff of reloading her kunai whenever she TPs. It's not a great feeling when you try to save someone you TP to only to have to reload your weapon. For Lifeweaver, I just want the change of there being almost zero delay when switching weapons. Even with all the changes they made in the past, it still feels super janky to this day to me. Mainly the switch from the healing to the main weapon feels really odd. Please let me beat on people's heads as Lucio again. I must destroy J3's forehead once more like I did in Overwatch 1.
Oh, he killed him with a beat. No way.
A change I heard floating around the Mercy community a bunch is the ability to at least see the Guardian Angel cooldown after you do a slingshot or super jump tech. I'm not a Mercy player myself, but I do find it quite odd that the ability just stays active after you do one of these techs, instead of just showing you the actual cooldown. For a Moira change, I have an idea similar to Venture where if you use Fade during Coalescence, it should pause the ultimate. Feels a bit bad to have that timer go down when you use it. Now for the Chad, Omnix, and Yada, we all know this dude should be able to fly during his ultimate. Someone needs to be able to save that far from getting beamed down. And we all know the Iris calls to him from the skies. And yeah, that's all the goofy changes I would make to every character currently in Overwatch 2. What change would you like to see to a certain character? Feel free to let me know in the comments. Thank you all for the support as always, and I'll see you all in the next one. Peace.
Rockskull. All I want to do is stream all night. Lobby full. Rockskull.
Never gonna play with me, but it's alright.